In this module, we have looked at a range of things related to teaching speaking as a skill, as opposed to speaking activities as a vehicle to teach particular language points.
So what do we then teach when we teach speaking, if it is not practicing a grammar point or new vocabulary?
You have to remember that speaking is not just a production of correct grammar, vocabulary and pronunciation.
Speaking in real life is interactive and requires the use of specific sub-skills and strategies in order to be an effective communicator. It is these sub-skills and strategies that we teach when we teach speaking.
What are the stages of a speaking skills lesson?
Right, so the stages are different depending on which approach to teaching speaking you take. Just to remind you, there are two approaches to how to teach speaking. The first approach is the one commonly adopted by published coursebooks and materials, and then we also have the task-based approach. In the published material approach, the teacher firstly introduces the context. Then the target language is clarified, including meaning, form, and pronunciation. And then finally the task is introduced, ideally through a demonstration. And there is also a delayed correction stage at the end of the tasks. This is in contrast to the task-based approach, where there is no explicit focus on language until after the task. So, students are asked to begin with a real-life task, and a language focus comes later.
What is the teacher's role when teaching speaking skills?
Okay, so before the lesson, the teacher has to choose the topic and some props and stimulus. We looked at the different ideas in one of the previous lessons. Then, during the lesson, the teacher has to establish the context, set up the task, and check instructions. Sometimes moving furniture around will be required. Once the activity is underway and everybody is on task, the teacher monitors discreetly without interrupting students and takes notes for delayed correction. After the activity, the teacher conducts feedback on content first, highlights and praises good use of language, and conducts error correction.
How do I choose the right speaking activity for my students?
Yes, we looked at features of a good activity in one of the previous lessons. But just to remind you, a good speaking activity should be tailored to the student's level, needs and interests. You also need to make sure that there is a real reason for students to communicate. So it has to be purposeful. Vary your lessons. Use different ideas for each lesson, including role plays, debates, discussions, problem-solving activities, jigsaw activities and many more. Go back to previous lessons to remember the range of activities you can use in the classroom. And one last thing, even the best activity will not be successful if you do not give students sufficient time to generate and process ideas.